MMAT. Just like one of those girlfriends that you never had, or the girlfriend you're so obsessed with, and then eventually decided to break up with her, but all of your friends already have attachment to the girlfriend that you used to have. And the girlfriend actually sucked, right? But the thing is, all of your friends are so attached to him, you have to go back and check on how she's doing. This is my relationship with MMAT. It almost feels like it's something I cannot get rid of because everybody keeps talking about it, and there's so many things that people talk about is so wrong that I'm trying to help other people understand what is going on, and then at the end of the day, I get my shoes wet. Not even getting into the water, okay? It's like one of those girlfriend where like you care about, right? You break up with, and then later on, like, she's like, oh, come back to me, and you sort of go back to her a little bit more, and then she doesn't want to have sex with you, but all you just want is having sex, and then those kind of things, right? Like, it never happens. And then guess what? In this case, like, I don't understand what is this blind hope-tium is all about. And in this video, I'm going to shatter some more hopes and explain more about a lot of the questions that you guys don't really understand, or I might just didn't really explain that well in previous videos. We're going to tackle them one by one and, shadow some more dreams. I know more and more people is going to comment down and say, oh, you're so dumb, you're so wrong. But again, it is what it is. And obviously, I just don't care. I just want the truth to be out there. I don't want old investors trap new investors. It is so unethical and it's so wrong. Like, what you guys are essentially doing is posting out positive information online and lie to new investors. And a lot of people have no idea what they're doing in the stock market. I'd rather them save their money and buy some rotisserie chicken from Costco. And by the way, it actually tastes pretty good. And again, Costco is not a sponsor for our video, okay? Or go buy some overpriced orange juice from Whole Foods. It tastes fantastic. I'd rather you guys waste money on strippers than actually just, dump your money in a stock that a lot of people were just really salty about and want you guys to spend your money in that so they can create another pump and dump. And then they use the logic of, oh, I invested for a long term. But if you actually had an interview with them or have a rational conversation with them, it's just like the entire cancel culture. They're trying to cancel me, but I'm just, the Ricky Gervais of bloody stock YouTube. I tell you guys the fucking truth, okay? I tell you guys the absolute truth. This is what I think. I have evidence of all of these kind of things. And for those of you who are new, who are thankful, please comment down below and be like, I'm new here. Thank you so much for providing us another prospect of this video, right? Because none of the YouTubers are willing to tell you guys the truth, what is really going on with the stock. And then I'm going to basically highlight what their logic is and why that's so flawed. All right. Roll the intro now. Hey guys, it's the MMAT time. And this video, we are gonna talk a little bit about things that people don't really willing to talk about. They explicitly sort of skip over, or they just ignore or oversee them on a balance sheet of MMAT. And again, this video is for those of you who are practically new to investing or practically new and considering trying to invest in a small cap stock like MMAT, which right now I don't think would be a really great time considering the market condition. And a lot of you are here just to give me a lot of hate comments, which I don't care. I could care less about that. And I just wish that all of the guys who are new here can understand that a lot of times you gotta sort of like pick and choose what kind of information you get from somewhere, like all of the places. You gotta pick the right place to listen to, the right streamer to listen to, the right YouTubers. And here I'm very transparent. I'm an honest person. I say whatever I want, I talk whatever I want, as long as, my heart is content and I'm honest about it. And again, I do not hold short positions on MMAT. And for those of you who knows, I hold a portion of my portfolio as MMAT for diversity reason, which is a hedging play against a supply chain shock to the Asian market. And here's just some real talks for those of you who are trying to look at the prospects of MMAT, and here are a lot of risks that you have to consider, and I'm gonna lay out for you one by one here. And hopefully this video isn't too long, and I will shorten a lot of things for those of you who want very detailed analysis on those kind of stuff. Subscribe to our Patreon, because without Patreon members' help, I probably cannot put out those videos. I have a lot of obligations in my life, and hopefully I will shed some light in your investment world. And also join Discord. We discuss a lot of different other plays on Discord. Right now we're huge in PBT, and it's going really well. And shout out to our man Bronco, and we're gonna do a collab later on this month, or maybe next week, when everybody is not so hooked up on COVID, because he got COVID. So then and number 2 also got COVID. I'm trying to do like a big collaboration event, or just get him on a call or something. We can stream about it, we can record it and talk about oil, talk about the prospect of where oil is going. My man Bronco has been working in the industry for over 20 years. And then later on this month, we might invite a hedge fund manager and talk about his position a little bit, and talk about, why retail get all reaped a lot in the financial market. And then we're going to talk some psychology and stuff along the way. Okay. Anyways, so first question that a lot of people ask is, why does MMAT feels like, the merger is completed, but it doesn't feel as completed, right? We have a portion of the community who believe in this myth called legacy option chain, which they think when the option expires on that option chain date. So the entire logic of this is this, okay? So let's just say, right now, let's just look at MMAT option chain. And sometimes when a merger happens, you will see option chain that behaving like you have a very high strike over here. You guys can see my thing, right? You have very high strike in here with $6, which is effectively almost or more than 100% more than the stock price right now. It's extremely out of the money, but you can see there's still a lot of people holding it because of pre-merger or during the merger, when the new option chain got published or whatever, and people buying into this option. And back then, the actual price of this option is actually really high, because before reverse split, the $6 call option, the $6 call option, if you're selling call, is a really good deal. And then after the reverse split, if you bought put, that will generate you a lot of profit in general. And then what majority of the internet believes that when, say, a legacy option, this thing expired. And I'm pretty sure February option wasn't a legacy option. I think March is a legacy option. I'm not really sure, or we don't have March. So either the April one is legacy or January one is legacy, which in my Discord, I talk a lot about legacy options. I said it doesn't matter at all. What it will actually do is will actually hurt the shareholder value of MMAT. Why? Because after a reverse split, the actual equity value of the entire stock, the momentum of the equity value, plus the intrinsic sentiment of where the stock's gonna go actually decreases, which resulted in higher strike value becoming worthless. So if you can see all of these strike values, so let's just say we used to have $10 strike value. All of these strike value with existing open interest, all of these money are basically just thrown down in the water, or thrown down in the drain. And then when these options got expired, that will give the downward put option contracts less pressure even more, because all of these are already like foreseeable, like throwing into the water. Therefore, if anyone who's holding a put long option instead of a shorting put option, which just means they bought put and they seek the price action to drop even more, when the option expires on that day, the stock will actually experience a further downturn rather than a upturn. And I warned my subscriber about this. I warned my Discord member about this. For those of you who don't believe me, well, sucks for you. Okay, so legacy option doesn't matter at all. So what really makes it look like, oh my god, the merger completed, but why it feels so odd? Why there's so many things messed up? Well, metamaterial used to be regulated and traded on CSE, which is the Canadian market. And the exposure method of Canadian market and the US market is very, very different. And because MMT doesn't have the necessary financial audit and necessary financial information on their previous 10Ks and 10Qs, therefore there's a huge transition period of time after the merger. And as we talk about, because as a part-time now accounting professional, we know that when we're doing an M&A, which is merger and acquisition audit, it's really hard to audit the nitty-gritty of what really went wrong, because it's a really, really messy thing, and because we have the retail frenzy, therefore it's really hard to determine if a lot of the information are material or not. So if you go and look at MMAT's old financial statement, you will see that there are a lot of sections in their financial disclosures are missing, including voting right, including some disclosure of how they are doing a lot of their valuations and doing a lot of things are share value. For example, non-cash finance information, non-cash finance costs, and the categorization of the revenue and prospects of revenue are actually not laid out very clearly in their old financial statement. And then when they transition to NASDAQ, you will see that, this is actually AMC's balance sheet. I will show you a little bit and give you an example. If you go look at their NASDAQ 10Qs, which is the closest November 10Qs, there's still lack of this. They lack a lot of disclosures. They also haven't updated their articles of incorporation. I mean, it's understandable, right? But at the same time, you gotta know that when the actual 10K time comes, which is the annual report comes to metamaterial, there are a lot of things that we don't know has to be on the balance sheet or has to be in the 10K, and it's gonna be more throughout. For example, their actual business model, their articles of incorporation, and in the articles of incorporation, you can know whether if they're gonna have another reverse split, and then whether the action of a reverse split requires on what kind of shareholder approval and what kind of basically what kind of committee decide that. If the if reverse split clause is really vague, that just means the CEO can basically do whatever they want with reverse split, and then that just means, for those of you who believe that reverse split will never come, might actually be happening way sooner than you think. But we don't have that information yet. Because the 10K is not out. And another thing that you have to understand is the reason why there's huge risk investing this is because we have no idea on how much common B shares or how much voting rights the insiders actually hold. For those of you who don't know, if you go on Fintel and if you look at all of these 10% holders, you will realize that they only own about 3 million shares of float, but why they have 10% voting rights, right? Well, here's why. If you go to AMC's balance sheet, you will realize that this is AMC's balance sheet, right? No, this is not. This is AMC's balance sheet. This is like the 10K, right? On 10Ks, usually there's a disclosure about common stock rights and privileges. You'll realize that AMC, they have Class A shares and Class B shares. And again, for those of you who want me to write or make a detailed video about AMC's balance sheet, what are some red flags, and right now, I just look back and look at the squeeze, and I actually think there are other considerations people don't really look into within the squeeze, because of there used to be a huge holding company, the Chinese holding company that owns AMC, a huge proportion of it, almost 50% of it. And then there's some very interesting investor consolidation, dilution, investor strategy, American company strategy going on with AMC. And then I honestly think that the squeeze is actually manipulated to make retail believe that there is going to be a squeeze, and a lot of financial professionals just catch on to that trend. And again, it's another hypothesis that will make if a lot of people want to watch a AMC video, me talking about it. But just for the purpose of this video, you will realize that in here, if I can highlight this, every class B common share actually has three votes and 1 vote. Every class A, which is all commonly traded on the NASDAQ, the AMC that you guys hold, only have 1 voting rights. That means if we use the same logic, and I don't know what the voting rights actually counted for MMAT, if George's voting rights, most of the companies have super voting right class shares. For example, Facebook have them. Right now it's called Meta, right? And then Microsoft used to have them. Let's just say George's votes counts at 10 votes. That's ridiculous, isn't it? There's only 280 million shares outstanding, and if his 3 million shares represents 30 million shares of voting rights, then you guys will know that as retail investors, even if we hold about 80% of the float, because the fact that we're crippled with our Class A stocks only have 1 vote per share, that means we will never actually make any viable corporate decisions. Wow, that's really hard to wrap that around, isn't it? And for those of you who want, a very official declaration of quote-unquote mergers completed, everything's going fine, you can actually go watch my reaction video of Sterling interviewing the CEO of MMAT, or you can just go to Sterling's video and then watch it and then basically hear him talking about the CFO over here talking about the merger is completed, everything's going fine. But in reality, it's actually not really going fine because there are a lot of intricate pieces that are not in place yet. And then once we can see the 10K of MMAT later on this year, well, there are a lot of questions going to be answered. And again, for those of you who want me to engage a very detailed discussion about MMATs, for example, we actually found the missing $100 million, $100 million worth of stock. Actually, it's parked somewhere. If you want to see a lot of those unconventional and a little bit controversial opinions about MMAT and you want to discuss about it, you can add me on my Discord and I will try to answer most of the questions. But a lot of those questions are a little bit they got answered along the way, so I know a lot of times I'm just too busy. And there are a lot of active members in my Discord. You can ask them questions. They sort of know a lot of the things already, because on Patreon I actually posted a lot of detailed stuff about why certain things are kind of fishy along the way. But as a supply chain hedging play, I don't really care about those kind of things. The reason why I bought in, I'm just basically, it's just in case measure, okay? And another thing you have to understand about MMT is a lot of times people talk about this nefarious thing called actually, how do I say this in a nice way? They call that shorts are locked. But the interesting thing is, in my old video, in my previous video, I probably will link down below, which I say shorts are locked, but then with a question mark, and I'm a little bit aggressive on my thumbnail. I said in your face because I just proved that you can short OTC, you cannot short OTC shares, and the majority of the short reports are actually misleading, and those are market making activities. Another part of the video, I actually talk about if let's assume all the hedge fund guys are not dumb, therefore they probably already bought a lot of those the dividend holder shares, which can basically opt them out of the lockdown, quote unquote lockdown position, right? And we can just, this is a raw data dump that I have on my algorithm, and then I use those to analyze a lot of price actions on the market. So this is strictly for MMTLP. For those of you who don't know what MMTLP is, it's essentially traded on the OTC market, and it represents the rights to your dividends from MMAT. Okay, that's all you need to know. We don't want to get into the very deep and nitty-gritty of why it's kind of fishy, and then why some people believe that the valuation is correct or wrong, or how much do I really think the dividend, if we ever gonna get any dividends, is gonna worth. We're just gonna say if you buy 1 share of MMATLP as a hedge fund, and then you used to short MMAT before the merger, and you hold your short throughout the merger, every share you buy will opt you out of every share that are being locked. So if just say you shorted 100 million shares of MMAT before merger, and then technically speaking, and again, I don't want to get into the more clearinghouse and NACC, all of the other things that are related to this problem. There are actually a lot of problem and indication of all of these shorts are actually not locked. But just with conventional knowledge, with conventional wisdom, or just a very simplified way of explaining to you guys why they're not locked is, let's just say you shorted 100 million shares before merger, you hold it through the merger, and then now it's about $1, right? It's about a lot of $1. You shorted somewhere, because of reverse split, you shorted probably somewhere around $15 to $20, that range, and you made out $14. And then if you don't buy MMATLP, that means, according to popular belief, all your 100 million shares of shorts are locked, means you cannot properly cover them, because technically you have to pay for the dividend that this company ought to issue. But due to the fact that it's actually a dividend holder, therefore logistically speaking, you're permanently locked, which is actually not true. But in this case, I'll just prove to you, if you are a smart investor or a smart hedge fund manager, in the past few months, you probably already, bought out of your quote-unquote locked shares. Why? If we just look at how many volume are traded for MMTLP, and again, most MMTLP movements are MM movements, which is market making movements on the short side to hedge their entire position. And at the same time, another thing is a lot of those volumes are actually selling volume from other people, and then only most of the time it's retails who are buying into those shares. Okay, and then if we do the formatting a little bit more, let's do the formatting. Where is the formatting? I actually don't know where's there you go. Let's just make it into money, I guess. So there are 89 million shares traded. Okay, there are 89 million shares traded, and how much of those shares do you think are hedge funds actually buying back these, quote unquote locked? They're locked, trying to get out of their locked position. Let's just say 50% of them. That's already 40 million shares. And as we all know, the previous MMAT short movement actually is composed of both the hedge fund shorting and the MMs doing their hedges, because we have one of those days, one of the days where it increased almost 100% on that specific day. As a market maker, you have to hedge your position with both the short side and with buying more shares. Therefore, we trigger the infamous FTD, whatever, short squeeze. But in reality, if you analyze it, if you look back and analyze it, it's not completely FTD, have nothing to do with it. Again, I don't want to talk too much about this, but if you go look at on this particular day, they have to hedge, and then their short position will carry out over time as market makers. Okay, and again, depending on your oh my god, I just fucked up my thing. Anyways, I'll do another Fibonacci thing later on, I guess. But anyways, for as of right now, that just means that a lot of those shares are hedge funds buying back. Basically, the creation of MMTLP is actually helping hedge funds to, if you actually believe that they're locked, to get out of your position. But another major factors into this is insiders actually want to dump their shares a little bit more and then basically cash out without on FinTel. You guys can figure out when they are traded on the OTC market and when they're traded with MM using derivative method. Whoever is involved in the liquidation of MMTLP, which I talked about this before in my MMTLP video, on paper, on the SEC filings, they still hold those shares. But in reality, all of these risk of these shares already transfer to whoever now holds on to MMTLP shares now. And again, their cost basis of MMTLP are like somewhere around 20 cents. And then if they sell it at $2, I think it's a super huge profit they can have, especially in this volatile market situation. Anyways, this is it for the video. Hope you guys love this kind of content. And again, be careful with all the money they invest. And we're not financial advisors. We do not give financial advice. Everything we say on the channel is for shits and giggles. And again, I'm 100% honest. Hopefully this video helps you a lot to analyze this situation. And for those of you who are a little bit headstrong, calm down a little bit and then sort of process what I said in this video and make your decision accordingly. Okay? And again, you should only invest your money. You should only invest the amount of money that you're willing to lose. See you guys on the upside. And don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe.